Jonathan, it's so great to see you here. Great connecting here after Expo West. Um, I appreciate that, and it was great to meet you guys. I mean, for those guys tuning in, for our friends, for our community, everyone that's tuning in today, I just want you to let you know there are so many people at Expo West. There were like 80,000 people, and I remember you and your mother. I remember you and your mother because I had such a great conversation. And it was reminiscent of how when I had another company in New York, how my mother used to go with me to places. And I just loved it.
Yeah, well, it's a family company, and I call her my secret weapon. She's 83, and she's got more energy than all of us. And she grew up in Philadelphia, and her family were merchants, on South Street.
Mhm.
And if anyone knows Philadelphia, during years past, that's where they had like barkers outside the stores trying to get people in. And so she sort of channels that type of energy, and has really made a lot of the biggest and most valuable connections that we've had, as a company. So she's really a valuable part of the team. That's for sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I can't tell you, I don't know about other folks that are out there or tuning in today that have worked with family in that way, but it's certainly I found really special. I always felt really supported when I was in New York, and my mom would show up at every single event that I had. And I know working with family can also, on the flip side, have its challenging dynamics.
Yeah, no
You're
question. It's a lot of yeah. It's got its challenges for sure, but most almost completely positive. So that's the
Yeah.
good thing.
So for those, because we've been talking about this, a little outside of our conversation, but for those that are tuning in today, our friends, our community, people in the food space, people that are excited to learn what we're going to share with them today, can you tell them a little bit about your company?
Sure. Well, the company is called Miracle Noodle. We make low calorie, low carb noodles, rice, and ready to eat meals that are based on two main ingredients. The first is a very traditional Japanese product called a shirataki noodle, which is made from the konjac plant and is 97% water and 3% plant fiber, so incredibly low carb and low calorie. And then we have another line that's just been released, which is made just with egg whites. So the noodles are made from egg white, water, and a little bit of a seaweed extract. And this is also low carb, but high in protein. And everything that we do is health focused. I'm a medical doctor, and so I saw the original product on a trip to Japan a long time ago in 2006, and was just that was sort of my second year of introducing lifestyle modification into my medical practice. And when I saw that product in Japan, I was really enamored by how it could be something that people could use to transition as they're trying to transition to a healthier diet. They could use this product, and so I started the company pretty much the day I got back, and we've sort of been at it ever since.
So, what kind of doctor are you?
So I'm a traditional, or say conventional dermatologist who in
Okay.
2004 had a patient that cured herself of lupus and had never seen anything so dramatic. And she came in with a stack of journal articles and books that gave them to me. And I had always been interested in nutrition. And when I read that, it pretty much changed everything. I didn't read it right away, as most doctors are somewhat trained to be suspicious of such things. But when I did jump into it, I realized there was quite a bit of data. And at that point, I started introducing lifestyle changes, diet, etc. And
So it was in 2000, did you say 7 or 8, when you had gone to Japan and you learned about this, coupled with the conversation with your patient that now made you kind of recalibrate what you were doing and refocus, would you say? Still focused on dermatology, but equally incorporating all these things that you now learned about nutrition.
exactly, yeah, 2004. I had her name was Karen. I had her on just awful meds to try to control her lupus, organ transplant medications and such.
Oh,
And I thought I was worried that I was going to kill her with just the medicines I was putting her on because they were really,
Right.
really. And then she came back. We stopped them because nothing was working, and that's when she disappeared for a couple months and came back almost completely cleared. At that point, that's when I jumped into it. And then in 2006, that's when I went to Japan. So during that period, I was spending a lot of time immersing myself in the medical literature, attending conferences, and just sort of getting into that sort of mode of transition to how I'm
Hmm.
looking and treating patients. Most people are not interested in lifestyle modification.
Right.
They're just like doctors are trained to prescribe medications. Patients are also, unfortunately, trained, by society and such to expect a pill for every ill, so to speak. So, but of those people who are interested, those are really the most valuable experiences and interactions that I have, bar none.
So let's talk about your noodle company because it was inspired by the fact that you wanted to do more than be a regular conventional doctor, that you learned that these things and that how we eat could impact how we feel. And the story with the woman Karen, I believe you just mentioned, who had lupus, I mean, that's amazing that food was able to have such a drastic effect on her. So, where do your noodles fall into all of this?
First of all, I've always been entrepreneurial since I was a kid. I've always started businesses since yeah,
Lemonade stand?
exactly that sort of thing. We always had some product we sold in the summers because I grew up on the Jersey Shore. Um, and um, so when I saw the product, because I was, in a couple years into lifestyle medicine, I saw it as something that people could use on a special diet. That's sort of how I saw it. So because it's low carb, low calorie, I thought about diabetics, general weight loss, gluten-free consumers, all of these things to help people enjoy the comfort food experience that is eating noodles and rice and that sort of thing. Because every who doesn't like noodles? Everyone loves noodles. So that
I'll
was,
tell you, I saw a quote today
yeah,
that said, eating pasta, and this comes under pasta, can make you happier than anything. Like the emotion that you get from eating it makes us happy.
it
So
does.
you're not, I mean, they're talking about it.
Yeah, I know the Fellini, the director, he had a quote. I think it would go something like, "Life is a combination of magic and pasta."
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that. I like that. So you went from being a doctor, which can be, if depending on if you have your own practice or you work in a hospital, could be entrepreneurial too, I would imagine.
yeah,
Um,
I suppose. I always worked for a big group, so
oh,
didn't have that entrepreneurial aspect to it. But when I came back from Japan, I started the website online, specifically targeting people who were on special diets. And pretty soon after that, we realized that people were buying it for those sorts of things, but the other people were buying it just because they wanted a healthier alternative to kind of higher starch noodles and pasta. So
so that's exciting. So how did you get started when you came back? Here you are a doctor. Here you are having this idea. You're so inspired. You just got back from Japan and you're just like, okay, now I'm going to make this.
pretty much, I mean, I knew how to set up an e-com site even way back in 2006 because I had already started several online businesses by that point in time. So I knew how to take out ads and always since I was a kid read about marketing and that sort of thing. So yeah, pretty much the day I got back, I found a supplier and set up a website and took out an ad and got a sale the first day. And I thought, okay, this could be something. And slowly built the website up. Over time, we got some good press in magazines, and which eventually led to getting onto Dr. Oz. And then at that point, that's when we decided to go into retail, and that's when I brought my family on board, and that's sort of how it all happened.
Wow. So how long from point of, the vision, the conception of this idea to, would you say, getting it in the stores and realizing you have a viable business?
So I got back from Japan, started the website pretty much within that, pretty much a day or two after that. And I saw it as a viable business, as a viable online business that could potentially scale. I had no intention of going into retail. It was sort of like a sideline business type of thing. But then when we got onto Dr. Oz, and that's going back 12 years, probably 13 years ago, that's when I thought, well, these types of this type of interest doesn't grow on trees, so I should take this seriously. And that's when we did our first trade show. It was Expo West, 12, 13 years ago. And we got into some stores right away. The timing was right. And that's when I said, okay, this is a real business that we should take seriously. And that's how it happened.
You found this idea out of Japan, you come back, you make it. It's all about healthy food or making a better for you
Hmm.
option for something that we think about as comfort
Yeah.
food. And it sounded a lot like you were connecting it with people that were either on special diets or had, some sort of immune or, compromised or something. But I think there's also people that are just interested in wellness
Exactly.
and making a better
Yes.
choice.
And that's where our business went. I mean, we still cater to those audiences, whether it's keto dieters, whether it's diabetes. But when we look at our data, it's the majority of our customers are just looking for a healthier alternative.
Yeah, I can see that because if you look at the ingredients of lots of things, I don't really want to eat all
Hmm.
that half the time. And I think the proof is in the pudding when you circle back with those folks eating it and asking them how they feel.
Yeah, no question about it.
Are there any stories you can share of either, patients without names or people that have used this to feel better because they couldn't eat it or because they made the choice?
Yeah, sure. A few really stand out in my mind because of how emotional it was. But one time I was on a plane, I was sitting next to a guy, and he asked me what I do, and I sometimes don't know whether I should say I'm a doctor or I'm a business owner. Anyway, this time I sometimes I go back and forth. I said I own a company called Miracle Noodle, and he paused and became very emotional. And it turned out that his son has a seizure disorder, and is on a keto diet. And he said that my noodles are really one of the things that make his son feel normal, because otherwise he's eating, a very strict keto diet. So that was, I mean, just to have that happen on a plane was pretty powerful.
I got chills
Yeah,
when you told me.
yeah,
I mean, that's amazing.
amazing. Yeah, and then we do consumer shows. Another one emotional related to a child was we did it was called, can't remember the name of the type 1 diabetes organization, something for life. I can't remember what it was called, but
Okay.
we were serving like a spaghetti with tomato sauce, and there was a kid that just kept coming back for more because he was like, he can't normally have bowls of pasta, and
Right.
and I saw his mother tearing up, while seeing how excited he was to be able to be slurping pasta and noodles and such. So those are
Mm.
two those are two that just sort of struck me when you ask for examples, I guess.
And did you have any idea that you were going to have this kind of impact when you first came out with these noodles?
No, I mean, you never know. You never know. Uh, you never know. I mean, when I look at all the, for lack of a better word, testimonials and such, that we get, the fact that I went into medicine because my father was an incredible doctor and wanted to make an impact, like he made an impact. And the fact that the company itself has been able to make a health impact, really is, it's really amazing to me.
And I think that just to highlight what you said before, normalizing an otherwise challenged child that, food is so integral when they're going to parties, when they go to friends' house. They don't, people, nobody wants to feel like they're, being made to feel like out of the group or special in that way, like different. I want to use the word different. So being able to offer a solution that makes a child or anyone feel like they are just another person is really amazing and creates great accessibility for these kids and adults who otherwise might feel a little bit self-conscious to now be part of the party.
No, that we did a bunch of surveys around 8 or 9 years ago, and one of the emotions that stuck out for adults was, you know, like if a mother is making food for their kids and they can't eat necessarily what they're giving their kids, the feeling of not being left out really
Right.
came to the top of what we discovered. So
What are some of the biggest surprises you found by building out this business?
I mean, I had to learn a lot about business. I mean, that was one of the big wake up calls for me. I mean, I didn't really know. I knew a bit about marketing and because in small e-com businesses, but it's been quite a journey just understanding business as a business grows and how different it is at each stage of growth and these sorts of things were.
I often think about it's like an on-the-job MBA because you learn so much about all these different things that you never knew you needed to know,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you're putting it into practice. So it's like you're getting that MBA while you're building the business.
that's true.
And I think that I mean, I feel like I got my on the job MBA a couple times over with every new business I
Yeah,
started because each one was in a different niche and each one you had to learn something a little bit new. So I had different focuses. Maybe one was sustainability, one was this,
yeah. And for
you
people
know.
who are watching or listening, I as much as I knew about marketing, and like I said, I didn't know anything about running a business. I remember when I needed to buy a larger quantity of product, and I called a distributor trying to figure out supplies and such, and he mentioned the word that well, we have some pallets of this and pallets of that. I didn't even know what the word pallet meant. I was on the phone googling like what's a pallet, so for just for anyone interested in starting businesses or whatever the case may be, you don't need an MBA. You can learn, just like you said, you learn on the job, and just uh, just go for it.
How big is how many people do you have working with you now, including your
Yeah,
family?
so we have around 16 people total working for the company.
And so when you made this transition from being a full-time doctor to being a doctor once a
Mhm.
week to also running this business, what were some of the challenges and things you had to navigate to make sure that you were able to do both well?
Well, it's hard to give up being a doctor. You spend all that time. So to be honest, I probably transitioned to part-time. It took me longer to let go of a full-time doctoring job. But so to start with, I should have done it sooner. Uh,
Hmm.
and because your identity is so wrapped up in, because I won, like I said, my father was a doctor, and I spent all those years, and so it took me time to transition. But that took a lot. Um, Once I
Hmm.
was able to relinquish that a bit, then as long as I feel like I'm connected to medicine in some way, then it's all good.
I'm curious, I was speaking with Northwell. So they are a healthcare company and I mean, I don't know that they were around when I was in New York and I left about 10 years ago. But they now run all the food. They run it like a hospitality company, the food portion of it, and they do all the food at like Lenox Hill and a variety of other hospitals. And the reason that they're doing it is they brought in Michelin starred chefs and they partner them with dietitians to create better food that's tailored to people's illnesses or diets, etc. and they treat it like a hospitality company. So the food is beautiful and it's all fresh. There's nothing frozen. So I'd be curious, to see how this, if that's ever been part of your conversation, to integrate it into something like that at any of these hospitals, because I feel like it seems like such a natural fit to work with the dietitians and in partnership with chefs to create better for you recipes.
We are expanding into food service. What I've learned is, food service is it's its own business. It's like, as we were just talking about, entering like a new business. It has its own terminology, and so we do plan on expanding into that because I think the timing is right. We did a food service trade show many years ago, and honestly, the chefs at the time weren't really receptive. But now, the timing is much better. Chefs are a lot more open to it than they
Mhm.
were 5 or 6 years ago, even. So it's just a question of learning that aspect of the business and getting the support. But we are working on that.
So when you look forward in like 5 years, what do you see for Miracle Noodle?
Well, we're transitioning the company from Miracle Noodle to Miracle Living. Uh,
Oh, I like
Thank
that.
you. I I'm trying to build a lifestyle brand that incorporates not just noodles, but other types of products, as well as health education. So the ultimate goal is to have an online portal of health education where people learn how to order their own labs, for example, how to change their diet for reversing conditions, empowering people to become what a teacher of mine in the past used to say: your goal in life should be to become your own authority, not that you
It's
disregard experts and such, but that the ultimate thing is, you know yourself better than anyone, and you have the capability to understand whatever condition you have, and to be able to make lifestyle changes. So that's the ultimate goal, and that would really, in a lot of ways, make the company more of an extension of that other passion that I have, and it fits with the products as they are because they fit my health philosophy. So I'm hoping that things will move in that direction, and we're
I love that. I think it gives people the reins to take control of their
Mhm.
life, and to do things more proactively, even
Yeah,
to be more curious and to be a little bit more prophylactic about the way that they take care of themselves. So that's amazing. I love it.
thank you.
Um, and I think that it's really forward thinking, and I think it's where people are
I
going
think so.
because the medical field, or I don't want to say the field, but it's not like it used to be going to a doctor, getting a referral, getting all these things. I mean, I don't know if it's the difference between New York and California and growing up somewhere where you know what doctor you want to call, or you can pick up the phone and ask your neighbor or your friend. But every time I'm here, I'm at a loss. And if I could put everything together and understand how I do this or I do that, and I mean, I'd feel like I become a more educated, informed advocate for myself. Jonathan, I love what you're doing. I love everything from the noodles to the portal. I'm calling it a portal. I don't know that it's a portal, but a portal. It allows people to take control over what they're eating, how they're taking care of themselves, and I think it's really innovative. Jonathan, thank you so much. I know that those tuning in today got so much out of this. I think that anybody that has questions, I'd love to know where we could point them if they wanted to connect with you and learn more, either just about your noodles or about your lifestyle medicine.
Yeah, they can send me an email at
Is LinkedIn a good way to
yeah, yeah,
connect?
LinkedIn works well.
And just for those folks tuning in that want to try Miracle Noodles, where's the best place for them to try them? Where can they access them?
We're in all the Whole Foods, Sprouts, Walmart, certain regions of Costco, but we have a store locator, and no question there'll be stores right by you. So
Awesome. Jonathan, thank you so much. Please tell your mom I say hello if she remembers
sure she
me.
will.
Um, I, we spoke about Miami. We spoke about Philadelphia because my mom was from Philadelphia too.
Okay.
But I want to thank our guests for tuning in today. Those that are with us and part of this community know that this has been a great conversation. And there's been so much content here, whether you're a founder or whether you're somebody interested in taking care of their own wellness. Tune in. So, and again, thank you, John,
Thanks, Christine.
for joining me
My
today.
pleasure.